So my name is Lindsay Skaggs, and I am a training and consulting partner here at Proquest. And today we are going to take a look at the Proquest platform and talk about tips and tricks for faculty. Now, if you have any questions as we go through the webinar, please put those in the chat box. We will be monitoring those questions and answering them at the end of the session. Okay, so I have a few objectives for today's session. I know that our audience varies widely. Some of you may have a fair amount of familiarity with the Proquest platform, while others may find this information completely new. So the intention behind this session is to support faculty who find themselves needing to integrate content into an online learning environment and find themselves wearing a librarian hat to a certain extent when it comes to making resources available to students. So I won't be covering search strategies, though we do have many in-depth materials on searching in our Proquest platform LibGuide, but instead I'm going to focus on connecting students with resources as we all work remotely. So by the end of our 30 minutes together, you will be able to locate your institution's Proquest databases, share and embed resources in your teaching materials, and connect students with research strategies and tools. Now, to start, I want to define what I mean by the Proquest platform. This includes resources available at search.proquest.com, which is really where most of our databases live, with a few exceptions for resources like Proquest Congressional and Legislative Insight, among another select few, mostly governmental resources. Now, you'll notice that on the screen, I have a screenshot of the Proquest platform, and you'll know you're in the platform if you see this kind of green bar or interface. And then if you look in the URL, you'll of course see search.proquest.com, and you know you're on what we call the Proquest platform. Now, there are several ways to identify which Proquest resources your institution has access to, and most of them involve getting with your library. So the library website will often have a database's A to Z list, which may include sorting by subject and perhaps sorting by vendor. And if they have that option, of course, finding Proquest resources is going to be fairly simple. Now, when you're looking for resources, your library may have all of your Proquest resources listed by individual names, such as ABI Inform or Literature Online, but they might also have a Proquest entry that will allow you to search all of your Proquest content on the platform at the same time. So do keep in mind you might just be able to search for Proquest. Now, another way to connect into your Proquest resources is by using a discovery layer, which is usually that big main search box on your library's website. So when you find an article or an ebook or another material that you're interested in, it'll show you where the full text content resides. So in the example on the slide, I have a screenshot from a discovery service. This was just an article record, and it's showing me the full text availability is at Proquest Central. And I'd follow that to get into the Proquest platform. Now, additionally, many libraries have research guides, which are sometimes called subject guides or LibGuides, which can connect you to Proquest resources and may include videos and tips directly from your librarians. So I would recommend that you take a look at those or get with your library to find out if they have them or could potentially put some together for your subjects. Now, regardless of how you get there, once you're in the Proquest platform, you can always see all of the resources to which your institution has access. So on this slide, I have an article from the ABI Inform collection. Now, when most library users are looking for information, they use that big search box on the library's website to go directly to materials like this article. But if you enter the platform this way, you'll see in the header, there is an option to change databases. This is an option that's often overlooked, but if you click on that, that will allow you to see all of the databases available to you on the platform. And then you can choose certain combinations of databases to search at a given time. So instead of only searching the ABI Inform collection in this case, I could say, I want to search everything that I have on the Proquest platform, or perhaps there's a couple select databases that really work for a multidisciplinary area that I'm working with. So that's just a good way to understand what content you have available through Proquest. Now, once you find something that you want to share with your students, you have a few options for doing so. So in every resource on the platform, you'll see options to the right of the text for cite, email, print, and then all options. Now, if you're working with a dissertation, you might also see the option to order a copy in that little section next to the text. Or if you're working with PDFs that are embedded in the browser, you might also see a quick option to download the PDF. But that said, you'll always see the citation option and of course the menu to go to all options. So opening that all options menu is going to expand to include cloud saving options where you can save the material to Google Drive, Google Classroom, or Microsoft OneDrive. It will also allow you to export your citations to RefWorks or EasyBib directly if you use those as citation managers, or in an RAS format that will work with other citation managers like EndNote and I believe Zotero and so forth. Additionally, here you have the options to save the content to My Research, which is a folder, or excuse me, an account where you can have folders to save things for future reference, or you can add materials to selected items so you could export a list, and we'll see that in a moment as well. Now, when it comes to citations, we automatically generate citations in APA, Chicago style, MLA, Turabian, and a few other formats. And so you can do quick citing too. You don't necessarily have to, you know, come in here and then choose to export your citation. You can just get that quick citation to copy and paste into materials if you're putting that together for your students. Now, to direct users to an article or another material, you can often grab the URL from the browser, although that might include your institution's proxy information with, say, session information that could result in broken links down the road. So our recommendation here is to grab the permalink from the material's metadata, which I'll show when we get into a demo in a few moments, or you can grab it from a citation. So if you're going to do a quick cite, you're going to find that permalink there as well. Now, when you grab the permalink from these places, it will include your library's proxy as long as they've added it in the admin console. So here on the screen, you don't see any proxy information because I'm using my Proquest demo account, which doesn't use a proxy, but in your institutions, you would see that information. So you can just grab the permalink from here and go. Although grabbing that citation is often the best way to go, just in case there were to be broken links down the road, your students would have a full citation to find the materials again. Now, another way that you can save items to either revisit them later or to share with colleagues or students is by selecting items. So from a search results page, you can select the checkboxes next to materials for them to be added to a session-based list. To use this list, you actually do not need to log into an account. Now, as we saw in that all options menu from within a search result when you were actually reading the text, you can also add single materials to the selected items list while you're reading them. And what this allows you to do is generate citations for the full list to share with others, or you could email the list to either yourself or interested parties so that they can link directly to the materials. So you can see here I've got a screenshot from my email and I just, saved these materials and then emailed them to myself so I could come back and visit them later. Now, if you don't email this selected items list or you don't create a My Research account or save the list to My Research, it will be removed after your session is over. But if you just want a quick way to grab a list of materials, the selecting items option really comes in handy. And then you can share that or create almost a bibliography to share with students or colleagues or so forth. Now, to organize your research and actually come back to it later, you would need to create a My Research account, which are free and available to all ProQuest users. This allows you to organize materials into folders, save searches. So if, for example, you're working on a systematic or literature review and you want to come back to a search again and again, you can create a search and then save it. And then you can also create email alerts or RSS feeds that will let you know when new materials related to certain searches are available. So again, that can be very helpful, systematic or literature reviews. Additionally, in my research, you can create widgets to embed in your course materials. So if you have a course website and you want students to search very specific ProQuest databases, you could create your own widget for that purpose. Now, what that looks like is it's just a very easy kind of building um, tutorial here, which allows you to choose which databases you want your users to be able to search. You can also add some search limits, like if you want your users to only find full text materials or peer-reviewed materials. And then you can embed this into a course website or potentially a LibGuide. So if you work with a librarian who puts together different LibGuides for courses you teach, or they have subject-based ones, you could say, hey, let's throw a ProQuest widget in there as well, because there are some resources here that I really want my students to work with for a particular course. So that's another thing. And it's so easy to do. You just copy that code and then paste it into an HTML page or into a content editor that allows for these iframes. All right. So now that we've reviewed some of the features for organizing and sharing information, I want to talk about some information that you can pass on to your students. So in this environment, I know that faculty may be finding themselves providing research assistance to students who are just adjusting to virtual learning. And there's just a few strategies and tools in ProQuest to be aware of. Now, of course, if you find that your students are completely lost when it comes to working with library content, please refer them to your library. Additionally, we do have a variety of LibGuides that include examples of search strategies, such as using Boolean operators, and we have short, focused e-learning modules if users are just completely new to searching. Now, the LibGuides are linked directly from the basic search page at search.proquest.com, as well as in the Helps drop-down menu, which is always available, that little question mark in the upper right corner of the screen. And then from the help drop-down, of course, there's also just our normal help files, which are going to provide information about searching. That said, one of the primary issues that students struggle with is simply finding the right keywords to search. So, often we hear that students come to librarians and faculty saying that they can't find anything on their topic, when in reality, they aren't expanding their keywords and they can't think critically about how to expand them. So one way to help is just to point them to the thesauri that are available in ProQuest databases. These are available from the advanced search screen, and they'll allow you to enter a subject term and find either a matching term or related concepts. So for example, on the slide, I entered entrepreneur, and I can see a variety of terms that expand that search and can help me see, am I looking for entrepreneurship and business models, or small business or startups? And there's different ways that I can kind of traverse around this hierarchy to find additional keywords, which can be really useful for students who just are struggling to think beyond the topic that they might have been assigned. Now, once students find a good source, I would really encourage them to review the related items or the citation trails for materials. So on the slide, I have a screenshot of an article, and to the right, you can see related items, and you'll see this for almost everything on the ProQuest platform. So that's a great way to continue a search. Peer-reviewed materials may also have cited by works or documents with shared references, which is also a really easy way for students to continue their research. And really what we find is that students sometimes just don't see these options or consider them as a way to continue their research. So it's a way to encourage them to do so. And then finally, the ProQuest platform includes videos from ProQuest Research Companion, which is a standalone resource that uses video modules to help students learn and internalize information literacy skills. So if you're working with students who are struggling to choose topics, find good sources, synthesize information, or write papers, you might want to refer them to these videos, which are available on the basic search page. I've got that highlighted, the how do I evaluate sources. And they're also available in that help dropdown under research skills. Now, additionally, ProQuest has made the full ProQuest Research Companion product available to all institutions while they're closed due to the pandemic. So you can access this resource in its entirety at https://bit.ly/PQRC. And make sure that you don't capitalize PQRC, otherwise the link won't work. But this is just another resource that you can use or direct students to if they're struggling and they're asking, you as a faculty member for assistance rather than going directly to the library. All right. So with that said, I do want to switch into the browser just so we can see a few of these things live, because I think that helps just to see the live interface and know where everything is located. So I'm going to switch into my browser, and I'm actually on my personal demo summon instance. This is a discovery tool from Ex Libris, and I'm starting here because this is how most students start. This is probably how you as faculty start, is just by going to your library website and looking for information that way. So if I want an article on fast fashion, I'm just going to search for that phrase. And if I wanted to limit this maybe just to scholarly articles, I'll do so. Okay, so just for the sake of choosing an item, I'm going to click on this first article, and I know this is going to take me to the Proquest platform. And once I get here again, I know I'm at the Proquest platform because it's the search.proquest.com, and I've got this kind of green interface, which is the interface that I use for all those materials. Okay, so we can see as we look at the metadata here, I've got the abstract, I also have full text, and then in the upper right-hand corner, this is where I see all of the options for downloading the PDF. If I choose to cite this and click on it, going to give me a little pop-up here. We have a variety of citation styles. So depending on what you use at your institution, you should be able to find what you need here to generate a citation. And this is really where I recommend grabbing the permalink from, or just grabbing the citation so that your students have that. I can switch over to MLA. I think I was in APA by default. You can also kind of set up what you want your defaults to be, but I can grab that permalink from here if I'd like to, and then that's going to be a reliable link moving forward. Alternatively, for that permalink, if I go to this abstract and details page here instead of the full text that I'm currently on, then I can click into this, and as I scroll down, you'll see the permalink document URL here too. And generally at your institution, this is configured so the proxy is just automatically there. You don't need to add it after the fact. All right, so just to show these options again, I also have the emailing option or a print option. If I click into all options, that's where I'm going to see those additional menu options for cloud saving. I could export this to RefWorks or EasyBib, or get an export format for EndNote. I also could download this as PDF or text only. There's also some Excel formats when that's applicable to the type of data you're working with, or Microsoft Word. And then I have options to save this to my research or add this to my selected items. I'm just going to go ahead and add it to my selected items so that we can look at that functionality later. Now, the last thing I want to show on this screen is on the right-hand side, you can see that this particular article was cited by 4 sources. So I could click in there to grab those materials. Alternatively, I could go into related items and read those directly. So I have some options here for just continuing my research without having to, do a new search or go back to my discovery service. And then these are the documents that cite the article in question. I could go in here and just look at those and read those if I want. Now, I want to point out, as we look in the interface here, you can see that I actually have access to 211 different resources. So if I click in on that, this is going to show me all of the databases to which I have access. And so this is going to vary by your institution. But this is a great place to come to just see, what does my institution have access to without having to necessarily weed through your library's database A to Z list, which of course is going to have not just Proquest resources, but all of the resources you have from other vendors. So if you're really kind of wondering, okay, what do we have from Proquest? This is the best place to go. And I can choose to, select all of these databases and search against them, or I could deselect this and say, I just want the agricultural science collection, let's say, as well as oh, I don't know, I'm just grabbing things, business premium collection, and I can really kind of tailor this to which exact databases I want to search. And then of course, if I want to go into one singular database, I could certainly just click on that and go directly to it. But there is this way that we can just customize which databases we're working with, which is, a fairly nice thing to be able to do. Now, alternatively, if I go to our basic search here and I want to search against everything, that's kind of how I have it set up currently. This is where you'll also see some of that help or guidance that I mentioned in the slides. So you can go to the product education pages. I'm just going to open this in a new tab. And this is where our Proquest platform LibGuides live. And they have a lot of e-learning modules for search strategies and using different aspects of the Proquest platform. So since I'm not touching on searching, this is a great place to go if you want to learn more about actual search strategies. And then this is where you'll also find some links to those videos I mentioned from Proquest Research Companion. So you can see that there's different sections of videos here, like how do I choose a topic? Where do I find information? How do I evaluate sources? And so on. So you'll find all that information there. Of course, you can also get to both those LibGuides and these videos by clicking in on this help icon, and they're available from this menu as well. Okay. Now, the other thing I want to show here are the different selected items options, as well as using my research. So if I do just a basic search, and I'm just going to search on everything I have access to here, just going to search for closed city, see what comes up. And a search, of course, always takes a moment longer when you're sharing. But let's say that I find some good resources here that I'm really interested in. For the sake of what we're looking at here, I'm just going to select a few. You can see as I select these items, they're being added to my folder that we can see in the upper right corner. So if I wanted to create a list that I'm then going to share with my students or with other colleagues, then I can select these items and I can go into my folder here and I see those materials that I chose. And then I have the option of, say, emailing myself this entire list. So I can come back to it later, or I could email it to someone else. I also have the option to save this directly to my research if I want to create an account, or I can cite it. And then that just gives me that citation, which I could just copy and paste into, um, a document that I'm working on. So I can do these things in batch and not have to, gather every single permalink, individually if I'm putting together resources for a class. Now, if I want to save these for later, if I click in on this little, I don't know, head icon. This will allow you to create a My Research account if you don't already have one. I believe it just requires your email address and you would create a password. You can also actually, without creating an account, come in here and create a widget to embed in a course website or put into, a LibGuide if you work with one of your librarians. If you already have an account like I do, I'm just going to sign into My Research. Hopefully it'll pass me through here. And I just have more options for organizing information here. So I can put different materials into different folders. I can create new folders, delete materials, just keep things more organized for myself, especially if I'm teaching multiple classes. I can save different searches. I think I right now just have a search for my brother-in-law's dissertation. If I set up alerts or RSS feeds for specific searches, I can view those here. And then I can also create widgets from this screen as well. So it's just a way to save things and review it later if that's something that would be useful. So that's really what I have to share with you today. I'm just going to switch back into my slides here, just to reiterate the resources that we have to learn more. So of course, going to your library is going to be the first step because they, of course, at your institution are going to have the best grasp on what resources you have. And then there's that Proquest platform LibGuide that has a lot of excellent e-learning modules, and other recorded webinars with information to find more. And then the help files are always accessible from the question mark in the upper right-hand corner of the Proquest platform. And with that said, I will pass it over to Jennifer to see if we have any questions.
We do. We had one. No copyright issues arrive if sharing links within the institution, I take it.
Hmm. If you're sharing those within the institution, then everyone would have access to the materials at your institution because they would have to authenticate and to see them. So I don't think that there's an issue there.
Okay. Can you save in Dropbox or Box?
So we don't have a Dropbox integration directly with the Proquest platform, but you could certainly save a PDF or another type of document, depending on if you wanted a text document, and then put those into your Dropbox.
I may have missed it, but does the search feature support regex, Regex?
Ooh, I don't think that it does. Off the top of my head, I don't know that it does, where you would put in, yeah, I want to say no on that. I don't know if you know that one off the top of your head, Jennifer, but I'm fairly certain it does not.
No, I couldn't even pronounce it, so I'm pretty sure I don't think so. Since we have a campus license to ProQuest, can we assume our campus librarians will have a local resource person in case we have questions?
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. If you have questions about your own, what you own, then certainly someone at your library will be able to help. Oftentimes, your subject specialist is the best place to go. And if they don't know the answer, they'll connect with the electronic resources librarian or whomever manages electronic resources, and they can certainly answer your questions.
If I am an institution that does not have a ProQuest account, are all of these resources freely available during the pandemic?
They are not, though we do have a coronavirus database that is freely available. So if you go to proquest.com, you would find access about accessing that coronavirus database if you don't have an institutional account. And then you can also use that ProQuest Research Companion.
Oh, regular expressions is what
Oh yeah.
REGX is.
Yeah, and I use those with like Notepad++ when I'm searching for things, but I'm fairly certain you can't do it in the ProQuest platform.
When will ProQuest install APA 7th edition? That's a
Ooh,
question we all want to know.
yes. I know that that is not in the pipeline, though I don't think we have a definitive date.
All right, and can you show the resources page again, please?
Absolutely.
Right, I'm going to keep looking for any questions anybody has. While we're waiting for those, I will say that there was some positive reaction to your touch on widgets, to the freely accessible content right now in ProQuest Research Companion. So those were good things to target.
Well, good.
All right, I do not see any more questions at this point.
All right. Well, in that case, then I think we're all set. Well, thank you everyone for your time and have a great rest of your day.